Here's what's happening in America, I believe. The American people have become confused by the president's words and his deeds over the past 18 months. One, the apology tour. He apologizes for America all over the world. Here's what he said.
In America, there's a failure to appreciate Europe's leading role in the world. Instead of celebrating your dynamic union and seeking to partner with you to meet common challenges, there have been times where America has shown arrogance and been dismissive, even derisive.
Now, it's this kind of ideology that we got from Jeremiah Wright, which makes sense because Jeremiah Wright is the church that Barack Obama found Jesus at. Quote, "Kneeling beneath the cross of the south side of Chicago, I felt God's Spirit beckoning me. And keywords here, I submitted myself to His will and dedicated myself to discovering His truth." Even that statement is confusing. Submission to His will. That's Islam. Barack Obama discussed American imperialism and colonialism with his Marxist professors in college. Here's what he has said.
I chose my friends carefully. The more politically active black students, the foreign students, the Chicanos, the Marxist professors and structural feminists and punk rock performance poets. We smoked cigarettes and wore leather jackets. At night in the dorms we discussed neocolonialism, France Fanon, Eurocentrism, and patriarchy.
That explains the French apology tour, doesn't it? All right, so you have his college, you have his professors, you have his pastor, Jeremiah Wright. It continues with the man who brought him to Jesus, Jeremiah Wright again.
No, 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 not God bless America, God America, that's in the Bible for killing innocent people. We bombed Hiroshima, we bombed Nagasaki, and we nuked far more than the thousands in New York and the Pentagon, and we never batted an eye.
This is black liberation theology, any kind of liberation theology. And he heard it in his church from his pastor for 20 years. And what it states is that there is an oppressor or a victim. Always has to be an oppressor, always has to be a victim. America is the oppressor. The Middle East is the victim. On this matter, it's not just Jeremiah Wright. His other close friends and other spiritual advisors, like Michael Flager, added some extra spice as well.
Then out of nowhere came, "Hey, I'm Barack Obama." And she said, "Oh, damn, where did you come from? I'm white. I'm entitled. There's a black man stealing my show."
This man is actually more frightening than Jeremiah Wright could ever be. And Barack Obama, in a 2004 Chicago Sun-Times interview, I believe, stated that he is a close personal friend and a very, very close advisor. Now, we go to Jim Wallace, one of Obama's current spiritual and political advisors. What does he believe?
Are you then calling for the redistribution of wealth in society?
Absolutely, without any hesitation. That's what the gospel is all about.
America, let me ask you a personal question. If you found Jesus and you didn't believe anything, and you found Jesus through Jeremiah Wright and sat there for 20 years, and your close personal friend and spiritual advisor was Richard Flager, and now your current spiritual advisor is Reverend Jim Wallace, do you think your friends might be confused because that's not what they hear in their church? When you're getting Christianity from that trio, after growing up in a family environment, no fault of his own, where your father is a Muslim, an atheist, your mother at least is not practicing any religion, your stepfather is a non-practicing Muslim, your grandparents who frequented something called the Little Red Church, I don't even know. I mean, is there any wonder why so many Americans are confused by him? They don't recognize him as a Christian. No, that's why polls show that there are more people, the same poll, more people who don't know what religion he is than there are people who believe he's a Christian. 44% of independents, 41% of Democrats, 46% of black voters don't have any idea what religion he is. And it's only going to get worse because of comments that come to light now, like this.
Whose Christianity would we teach in the schools? Would it be James Dobson's or Al Sharpton's? Which passages of Scripture should guide our public policy? Should we go with Leviticus, which suggests slavery is okay, and that eating shellfish is an abomination? Or we could go with Deuteronomy, which suggests stoning your child if he strays from the faith.
I want to make this very, very clear. In America, religion is a personal decision. That's between you and God. People don't agree with my faith. I don't agree with other people's faith. That's okay. Is it leading you to be a better person? That's for President Obama to decide. However, if it starts to affect the public policy, well, then we do have to examine and question. The last comments, are comments that the vast majority of Christians can't relate to. Couple that with what he said in an interview on faith in 2004. He said, quote, "So I draw from the Christian faith. On the other hand, I was born in Hawaii, where there's obviously a lot of Eastern influences. I lived in Indonesia, the largest Muslim country in the world. Between the ages of 6 and 10, my father was from Kenya, and though he was probably most accurately labeled an agnostic, his father was Muslim. I'd probably have to say, intellectually, I've drawn as much from Judaism as any other faith." Well, okay. And now we're confused why people are confused what he is? Where did he come from? We have Christian, Eastern religion influences, Kenyan agnosticism, Judaism, and Islam. But America is expected to be solidly convinced he's a Christian. Anyway, in the interview, he continued, "So I'm rooted in the Christian tradition. I believe that there are many paths to the same place, and that this belief that there is a higher power, a belief that we are connected as people, that there are values that transcend race or culture, that move us forward, and there is an obligation for all of us individually as well as collectively to take responsibility to those values lived." So you top everything else off with, there are many paths to the same place. Well, many Christians will say that's not true. That's not the church that Jesus taught about. That is the church that Oprah teaches about. And by the way, why wouldn't it be? Oprah Winfrey attended Reverend Wright's church for years. In that same interview, President Obama was asked in 2004 Chicago Sun-Times, "Who is Jesus to you?" He responded, "Jesus is a historical figure for me. He's also a bridge between God and man in the Christian faith, and the one I think is most powerful precisely because he serves as that means of us reaching something higher." I know a lot of